Today we are speaking with June Edward. She is a psychic medium and she is the author of All's Fair in Love and Karma. June, could you please introduce yourself and let people know just a little more about you, please?
Sure. Hi, how are you today? So I've been a medium for about 10 years, I guess, full time, and was born this way without ever realizing what it was, and assuming that everyone else saw and what I saw and could hear what I hear. Let's see, I died at the age of 27. I came back here by choice. I've worked with some very famous ghost hunters, I guess you call them, around the world, and consulted on some very famous books that were written in Canada, UK. I've worked with the police department on missing person cases. I've worked with the family on a murder case. I've done all kinds of very interesting things. They've given me quite the education from the other side. So I love what I do. And, if you do that, you don't work a day in your life, right? And I've got 4 books out currently. Yeah, my latest book just hit #1 bestseller on Amazon, All's Fair in Love and Karma. And that is based on my program, which is the Relationship Mastery Program, which teaches people their soul lessons and how to reconcile relationships and why they're here. Why are we here?
That's a big question, June. I ask that question a lot, and so many more people need to start asking that question. Why are we here? Because it seems like we're wasting a lot of time with the time that we do have. And it's interesting, some of the things that you're pointing out in your writing is remarkable. It's some of the things that are taboo topics, and we need this so much in our world. There's a part of your book that talks about your signals. Everybody has a psychic ability in them, but your signals are being blocked by chemicals like fluoride in the water. Could you talk to us a little bit about that to start off with?
Sure. So everybody's born with psychic ability, okay? And thousands of years ago, it was a normal thing. People would teach their children mental telepathy. So if dad was working out in the field, they'd just say, hey, dinner's ready, in their mind, and dad would hear it and come in. And the royals that used to run everything and rule everything years ago used to have what's known as the magi. And those were their advisors. And the magi were extremely psychic mediums that they would use to help them. When do we go to war? When do we do this? When do we do that? And they were their advisors, and they were revered. And then they became more afraid of them because they had developed their abilities more than most and couldn't control them, and realized that it's the same thing with the general population. They have all these abilities, we can't control them. And they started to find ways to block those things. So I forget when it started, probably back in the 1920s or maybe a little earlier, but they started putting fluoride in our water. Fluoride's a byproduct of the iron ore industry, and it's poison. And they had to get rid of it somewhere. Where do you get rid of it? Oh, let's just dump it in the waterways. That will dilute it so much no one will know it's in there. And then they cooked up a plan with the people in power that, oh, we can say that you're buying this from me. And, you got the money from the government to buy it from me, and I'll give you a little kickback, and you're making out and I'm making out, and nobody's any wiser, right? We can say it's really good for them. And that's how it kind of started. But what it does is it clouds your pineal gland. So your pineal gland is a walnut-sized gland, and, we say it's in the center of the forehead, but it's really back in between your 2 lobes of the brain. But it is where it's your receptor to be able to receive these psychic images and signals. And it's the size of a walnut. It's filled with clear fluid, and it acts like a reflecting pool. Because everything's energy. We're all energy. Okay, we're not the suit that we're wearing. We're the energy. The soul is our, what's inside is pure energy. And we get energetic frequencies on that pool, like a reflecting pool in that pineal gland, which gives you the messages to see. And that's where your psychic ability comes from. Okay. And if that's blocked from chemicals and fluorides and things like that, it's not going to work for you. You're not going to be able to pick up frequencies. And I've actually had many people come to me after learning that the fluoride in the water in your toothpaste was really the number one thing that blocks that up and calcifies it, that after they stopped drinking tap water and started drinking spring water and started using toothpaste that didn't have fluoride in it, that their psychic abilities started to enhance quite a bit. The longer that goes by that they eliminated that from their diet, the longer, the better their psychic ability gets. So everybody's born with it. And it's kind of like playing a piano, okay? Some people sit down and all they can do is play chopsticks. You got some psychic ability. It's that knowing. It's driving to work one day and hearing this little thing saying, I should go this way today. And you go this way and you avoid a major pileup. That's your psychic ability. It's called intuition, but it's a psychic ability, okay? So, like playing a piano, some people play chopsticks. If you want to apply yourself and develop your psychic ability, some people do that with music and can learn to play a couple of songs. Some people really apply themselves and become concert pianists, right? And then you have people like me. I'm the prodigy that sits down and plays Mozart. I've had immense abilities since I was a child, and I believe it's been enhanced from dying and going into the light, because again, we're energetic frequency, right? So when your soul goes into the light, there's quantum physics for you. Now your soul is traveling at the speed of light, and it went back into my body. So my vibration, I believe, is much higher than most people's vibration right off the bat. And I believe that's most of the reason that I'm able to connect to the other side so quickly. It's secondhand for me. It's just immensely easy. And I see things that people don't see. I pick up on things. I literally can see energy.
Yeah, I know that you talk about as you grow in life, you lose touch and lose sight of some of these things that have occurred within our lives or past lives, because you talk about reincarnation and that we are here learning the things that we need to learn. Could you talk to us more about what the 5 love lessons are and why they're so important to us?
So for us soul to advance, we need to learn these lessons, and we reincarnate here every time for different things. We reincarnate here as a vacation because you don't have a body on the other side. You can't smell, you can't taste, you can't have sex. It's a little vacation to have some fun, to help others, to collect our karma from people that owe us and pay karma back. But it's also to learn these 5 lessons so that your soul can advance, okay? And the first lesson is self-worth. We are conditioned as a baby, you're born and you trust and all your needs are taken care of, right? And they still have a lot of their psychic ability when they're born. You see little infants reaching out of their crib or talking to somebody that you don't see. And as they get older and they get conditioned, they lose that because they're in a 3D body. We're living a 3D existence here. You're here, picture yourself as an actor in a play, okay? You're inside this body, and like an avatar, you got to get up in the, you go to sleep at night, you get up in the morning, you're in this avatar body, and you got a role to play for the day. You got things to do, and people forget the reasons they're here. When you get in touch with your soul through meditation, then you start understanding why you're here, and you can understand that this is an avatar and that you're really playing a part in a play, okay? So the first lesson is self-worth. And when you're young, you picked these parents, you picked these friends. If you choose to listen to all the negative things that they tell you, right, that you have no value. Value is what other people place on you. It's not self-worth. Self-worth is the understanding that you are the accumulation of all of that. You are the only one of you on this world. How special are you that you were put here for a certain purpose? Just one of you. Even if you were a twin or a triplet, you're different. Okay, you have different personalities, you have different likes and dislikes. There's still only one of you on this planet. That's pretty damn special. Okay, people need to own that self-worth and learn how to put themselves first. It's where everything else comes from. It's not narcissistic, it's not selfish. If you can't take care of yourself first, you're not going to be here to take care of anyone else. It's that important. That's how important you are. Okay. The second lesson is trust and communication. You have to trust that there is a higher power. You have to trust that you're not here by accident and that there are angels and guides that are always trying to help you from the other side and point you in the right direction. You have to be able to trust other people, and you have to be able to communicate your needs. Even if you were blind, deaf, and dumb, you'd be able to communicate your needs somehow through sign language or touch, right? And people don't learn through osmosis. People aren't that great at mind reading. Even sometimes I'm not that good. So you have to be able to communicate your needs to other people. And you have to trust someone enough to be able to communicate your wants and your needs, right? Because it's a two-way street, that trust and communication. And sex is just another form of communication. And if you can't communicate outside the bedroom, you're not going to be able to trust and communicate inside the bedroom, are you? Everything's entwined, okay? It's all a very important piece of it all. Then there's unconditional love. And unconditional love does not mean, oh, my husband beats me, I have to stay here because I love him unconditionally. That's not what unconditional love means. Unconditional love first is loving yourself, okay, with self-worth. And it also means that you can love someone and let them go and want the best for them. You don't have to include them in your life if they're not bringing you joy and they're not uplifting you and they're not serving a purpose that's positive for you. You can love them, wish them well, and say goodbye. So a great example of unconditional love would be for someone that had a child, and maybe the child did something horrific. Maybe, they got in a fight with a neighbor and they murdered their neighbor, accidentally or something, and they end up in prison for the rest of their life. You don't like what the child did, but you still love the child. You love the person, the soul, okay? It happens for a reason. There's a lesson they need to learn. Nothing is random in this lifetime. It all is pre-planned. Universe wants you to think you have choice, but your choice is only going to bring you back to the path that you chose. That's the reality, okay? So then you have money and balance. Everything in the universe has to stay in balance. You have the night and the day. You have your whole body, left and right. You have up and down. Everything. You wouldn't know happiness and joy if you hadn't, experienced fear. So everything has an opposite. Everything has to stay in balance. And the way that we learn balance in this 3D life that we're in is by using money. Okay? You wouldn't walk into a grocery store and buy $100 worth of groceries and pay $1,000 for it. That's out of balance. Although it's getting pretty close with inflation, it's out of balance. Okay? But there has to be an even exchange of value. It's one of the things that bugs me with people that are mediums thinking, oh, it's a gift, you should do it for free. Well, you don't work for free. You have to have an even exchange of that energy. If I'm giving you inconsistent anything, if I'm giving you something that has no value, then don't pay me. But I'm giving you something of value, then it has a value. You have to have that equal energy exchange to keep things in balance. It's just not going to work. When I first started my program, I gave it to a couple of people in the military for free because I felt so badly for them in the situation they were in. Do you know it had no value to them? They didn't do it. They could have changed their entire life and saved everything that they had. They didn't do it. It had no value. It was free. So again, it has to be an equal exchange. That's something we all have to learn. And the last thing we all have to learn is patience. And that's one of the hardest lessons because, we live in a world right now that everybody wants things immediately, instant gratification. They don't even want, we've got phones. Somebody texts you, answer me now, right? How come he's not answering? It used to be, you go to work all day and I'll talk to you when I get home in 10 hours, right? They don't even want to wait for their food. They want to go through, the fast food and get it now. Don't want to take the time to make it. And things happen in the time that it's supposed to happen. It doesn't happen because you want it now. You know, picture a 10-year-old little girl. Oh, I want to be a mommy. I want to be a mommy. I want to be a mommy. Well, guess what? It's not your time. Maybe when you're 30 or 40, that's how you planned it. And that's when the time will come. And it's different with everybody. I mean, suppose somebody really wants to get married. Well, if you keep asking the universe for it, I guarantee you it will happen. But it may not be the best situation for you. Maybe you're going to marry someone that just needs a green card, right? It's not going to be what you expected it to be because you keep asking for something that it's not time. So you have to have the patience and trust that when the time is right, things will appear and things will happen for you. And again, each of these lessons reinforces the next lesson. Okay? If you're trusting the universe with patience, then it goes into trust and communication, right? You got to communicate to the universe and the angels what your wants and your needs are, right? Goes back to understanding how the universe works. And that's one of the things that I do. I teach people how energy works. And I unteach them what they think they know, and I teach them how things really work. You know, the universe is a very big place. And just because you cannot see angels, guides, doesn't mean they don't exist. You can't see the air you're breathing. You can't see the microwave that are cooking your food, can you? That's because you cannot see the souls that have departed to the other side. Doesn't mean they're not all around you. They're around you all the time. All you've got to do is say their name and somebody will show up. It's absolutely incredible. And I was one of the biggest skeptics, let me tell you. Even though I was born with these abilities and I would see them when I was a child and they'd scare the bejesus out of me, I was one of the biggest skeptics in the world. If I couldn't see it, feel it, touch it, it can't be real. So guess what? Dying, going to heaven, coming back here, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind. It's all real. It's all real. And I consider myself very, very blessed that they've given me the opportunities to see them and talk to them and help others.
Yeah. I understand that you talk about having your plan already established before you come back. So could you talk to us about what you mean by that? Because you've already alluded to that through what you've already conversed with us over, but it's very interesting.
Right. So it's quite a process. Yeah, it's quite a process. They've given me quite the education from the other side. Eventually I'll have to do another book. But we have soul groups that we reincarnate from lifetime to lifetime with. And each archangel has a soul group. And there are millions and millions of people, hundreds of millions in every soul group. And you come back and reincarnate for the most part when you choose. However, you have to be ready for it. So before you don't just come say, oh, I'm coming back and boom, I'm in a body. It really doesn't work that way. It's a very organized effort on the other side. You have to work. It's like making your own Monopoly game. You have to work with everyone that's coming back at the same time on who you're going to interact with. Who will I marry? Who will I date this time? Gee, let's see, I was not nice to you in a past lifetime. I owe you some karma in this lifetime. How am I going to make that up for you this time? Maybe I'll work for you as an employee in this lifetime coming up, and I'll make your business very successful. So it's very, very complex, very complicated. I have no idea how long it takes them to do this, to be quite honest with you, but I know it's extremely complicated and complex. And what lessons do you have to learn when you're coming back here? That's the next question. What didn't you learn the last time? So there's a lot of facets to it. And the only acceptable you can die outside of your life plan. I've brought through people many times that have died outside of their life plan. So the only unacceptable out is suicide. Suicide is never, ever, ever written into your life plan. And that's an unacceptable out. Because when that happens and you've caused it, the angels have to now jump in and rewrite the script for everyone you were supposed to interact with when you were here. And I've only come across one soul on the other side at this point that was not remorseful for committing suicide. They were still very adamant that it's what they wanted to do. So again, they've got to work on that on the other side. They'll meet with people, they'll meet with the angels and the archangels, and they'll work through that because they will not send them back until they're sure it's not going to happen a second time. One of the first people that I brought through when my abilities had opened up was a dear friend of mine who I grew up with and was like a brother to me. And he committed suicide, and I was almost the person that found him. And my intuition at the time told me, don't open that door. I had my children with me, and thankfully I listened to it, and I got back in my car. And his parents found him a few hours later. But he came through to me, and I had not been trained yet on how to handle my abilities and how to turn them off or how to turn them on, how to get rid of what I'm collecting. And he was extremely upset, crying, understood what he did, how many people he let down, how much he had hurt his family and his parents. And I walked around for 3 days, bawling my eyes out, so depressed. I just could not. I didn't know how at the time to get rid of it. And he's come through to me a few times since. His parents both passed away probably about 5 years ago now. I know I had gone up to the cemetery. I was up that way, and I just wanted to locate his grave because I missed his funeral. And when I found his grave, everything was open. And I'm like, oh my God, his graves are open. What the heck's going on? And his parents had just passed. So he showed up right then and there next to me to tell me that his parents had passed. He talked to them. They forgave him, and he was actually in a great mood, and wasn't suffering on the other side anymore from his grief.
That's like that universal time or something, having that great timing where it happened at that very moment. Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Synchronicities. There's so many synchronicities that happen if you pay attention. Thoughts are things. That's my famous saying. Thoughts are things. Where your thoughts go, your energy flows. So if you think of someone on the other side, they show up immediately. And he did as soon as I got to the cemetery. And I was happy that he let me know that he was not in grief like he was before and suffering. And yeah. Had I made the connection with his parents here and been able to do that, I'm sure I would have been able to help them all. But I wasn't afforded that opportunity. I didn't want to go see his parents. Actually, they weren't ever around. They had gone up to Maine, I guess, when they got older and were in a nursing home or something up there. They were quite old by the time they passed in their 90s. But yeah, we come here for specific reasons to learn those lessons.
I do want to talk a little bit about, you talk about deja vu in your book. And I've experienced it so many times where, have I been here? I know what's happening here. Why do I feel that way?
So there's a bunch of different reasons for deja vu, actually. Okay. So one of them could be that you remember the plan. One of them could be that you were there in a past life. One of them could be that maybe you were given a premonition for it in a dream and knew it was coming up. So there's a bunch of different reasons for the deja vu. It could be any of those. But nothing's random. Everything happens for a reason.
So how does the dream state fit into that?
So we're in 3D here, okay? 3-dimensional. The lowest level of heaven, which is where I went, and I can go back and forth to at will, is 5D. And there are many levels of heaven. And your dream state is 4D. And believe it or not, when you go to sleep at night, your vibration rises. And your soul is way too big for this body. So some of it's stuffed in here. And then people talk about seeing an aura around your head. That's part of your soul that's right outside your body. And then the majority of your soul is actually in the fifth dimension, the lowest level of heaven, and it orchestrates the timing of the things that happen in your life. So if you meditate during the day and you can get out of your brain and connect with your soul, you can connect to the other side. You can talk to them, you can get answers from them, and go about your day. But if you're not doing that, the only way they can get in touch with you is when you're sleeping at night in that 4D. So your vibration goes up, they lower their vibration, and you meet in that little marshmallow center, that 4D center, when you're sleeping. So you'll know it's a visit from the other side if it feels like it's real and you wake up immediately and you remember it. That's a visit. That's not a dream. And they visit a lot. You know, a lot of times your mom might miss you, your grandma might miss you. They want to come see you and let you know that they're thinking about you, or they understand that you're going through something difficult. And because you're not connected to your soul for them to be able to give you that message, the only way they can do that is when you're sleeping at night, they'll come visit you. And a lot of times, I remember when my dad was dying, he would tell me that every morning when he woke up, he would see his mother standing next to his bed. And he was dreaming about her every night. And I kind of laughed a little bit. I'm like, yeah, Dad. I said, she's been standing next to your bed for almost a year. He's like, well, she disappears. I said, that's because your brain kicks in and your brain is not processing what your soul is letting you see. That's why. Yeah. But that's when she would come and connect with him. Yeah. Yep. I've never seen an atheist on their deathbed, to be honest with you.
So that is a good segue point right into my next question for you. How does your religion, or do you have religion, how does it fit into your life with your psychic abilities? Because it's kind of taboo in the religious world.
So religions are nothing more than an organized social structure, okay? People have belief systems, and their belief systems are based on what they're taught or what they learn, right? And as you learn differently, your belief system changes. So nobody has to believe me for anything that I say. Trust me, when they die, they're going to know everything that I had to say is absolute truth. That's how it works. It doesn't matter. I've been exposed to many, many religions. I had a sister who passed who was Hindu. She's a wonderful guide on the other side. I've been exposed to Catholicism and Protestant religions, and my mom was searching, because my mom was also a medium, but I didn't know that because she didn't raise me. My dad had kidnapped me with some of my other siblings. I'm one of 8, and he's the one that raised me, and would tell us that our mom was crazy. She wasn't crazy, she was a medium. But she was searching for answers, so she would expose us to all kinds of different religions when she was trying to find answers, because she didn't understand what was happening to her either, and why she was seeing things and hearing things. And so when you get to the other side, there are only 2 things that you're able to take with you, and that is love and knowledge. And when you get there, you'll experience the knowledge from all of your lifetimes. And if you can connect with your soul, you'll be able to tap into that knowledge that you've had from lifetime to lifetime as well. And it's pure love on the other side. Just pure love. It's not even, it's hard to even explain it. If you could wrap yourself in a blanket of warm love, that's what it is. And there is only one source energy. It doesn't matter what you call it. It doesn't matter what name you put on it. There is only one. And every religion is right and every religion is wrong, but every religion serves a purpose. And if it teaches us how to be better to each other, if it teaches us how to be kinder, how to live a more joyful life, if it teaches us to have more purpose, then it's served its purpose, right? And connected people together, because that's the purpose that it serves. And, you know, if you read a lot of these different religions, if you read the Kabbalah and the Quran and the Bhagavad Gita and the Veda, and the Bible. You read them all. A lot of the stories are very similar and intertwining in every one of them. So they're great stories, but they've been translated many times. People take what they want out of them. That's good and bad. Does evil exist? Absolutely. Evil exists. You have to remember the universe has to stay in balance. So if there is a God, there is a devil. Okay? And what's happening in the world right now, since I'm not going to talk politics because it's not about politics, just like balance plays out with money, evil plays out with politics. So you have a war in this world between good and evil, and it's just playing out on the political field. And the reason that it plays out on that field is because it's about control. Evil is all about control. And that's why it's playing out on that field. And people have to understand that and realize that. And the pendulum always swings back and forth. But always remember that good wins. Evil does not win. Good wins. When good people stand up.
That was actually my next point. I'm sorry. That was my next point was you talk about there's evil and there's good in the world. If you're evil, you're going to maintain being evil. If you're good, you're going to maintain being good. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
That's not necessarily true. People change all the time. Okay, people change because they have to or they want to. Now, the only reason you're going to maintain evil if you're truly evil is because you've been demonically possessed, which is very easy to happen. There are evil spirits all over the place that are looking for your body because they don't have one. And alcohol used to be called spirits, right? And it's called spirits because it lowers your threshold. It lowers your vibration, your energetic vibration, and allows demonic entities to get in and take over your body. So first thing they do is they attach to you. You go into a bar, you have a few drinks, and I tell everybody, wear some religious symbol around you, because if they see it, they figure you're going to give them a little bit more of a fight from the next guy. They'll go hang on the next guy. And they literally get on your back like you're giving them a piggyback ride, and they'll go home with you and try to work their way into you. Literally till a full-blown possession. It's real. But that's the only, that's the evil that people, if you're going to be evil. But people do things that maybe aren't so nice all the time, but sometimes they do it out of ignorance, not necessarily because they're prone to doing things that aren't nice. Everybody's a little different, but there is evil in the world. So God is a forgiving God, right? Even on your deathbed, they say if you can ask for forgiveness. So the only people that I have not been able to bring through that are not in heaven are the people that have taken someone else's life and have no remorse for it. Those are the people that go to hell. That's it. You don't go to hell because you're gay. You don't go to hell because you're tall. You don't go to hell because you're green. You don't go to hell unless you've taken someone else's life on purpose and you have no remorse. That's it. That's evil. That's pure evil.
That's interesting. Yeah. I there's a lot of debate, and if we're not open to understanding somebody else's take on this, we're stuck in our own mental thought, and that can be devastating in itself.
True, and everybody listens to all the religion. That's the next problem, and the religions try to create fear. So everybody's got a brain in their head, right? Well, your brain is nothing more than a computer. Your brain, that computer helps you process all the information that comes into you, right? And helps you do things. But your brain has a primary function. The primary function of your brain is to protect you. How does it do that? It does it by creating fear. So people make all their decisions based on fear. You make a decision based on fear, it's a 50-50 crapshoot. You never know if it's the right decision, and you're always going to question yourself. When you get in touch with your soul and you make the decision from your soul, that's a knowing. You know you've made the right decision. You don't question it. You just do it. And it works out the right way 100% of the time. Okay? And somebody will always come back to me and say, well, I married my wife and it was the right decision at the time. I knew it, but, here we are 10 years later. She cheated on me, blah, blah. So maybe there was a lesson in there. That's not the worst thing in the world that could happen, right? Number one. Number two, maybe it was a karmic relationship. Maybe you're not supposed to be together forever. Did you have children? Oh, yeah, we had 3 kids. Maybe be grateful for the fact that you had 3 beautiful, wonderful children that you couldn't have had with anywhere else. It all happens for a reason. It was the right decision. It was the right decision if you made it with your soul. Absolutely, 100% of the time. And that's what people need to learn how to do. Get in touch with your soul and make your decision from your soul, not your head.
Yeah. So talk to us about your services and what you offer people, and talk a little bit about your website also for people.
So my services are pretty broad. I've learned how to do a lot of different things. I can connect people with their loved ones that have passed to the other side. I can give them messages. They can hear you and understand everything you're saying and see you, but if you don't have that ability, then I work as a translator between them. And it doesn't even matter if they speak a different language and never spoke English, because they translate it. It's kind of weird, but they do. People that have trouble in this lifetime. I had one woman that had been married 4 times and every one of her husbands died. And she fell in love for the 5th time and wanted to get married, was afraid that he was going to die as well. So we looked at her Akashic records. Akashic records are your book of life. Every religion talks about your name going into the book of life when you're born. And there it literally is, in the Akashic record room, in the 5th dimension, a room filled with each person's book of all their lives. And I have to have permission to be able to read them, but I can read them. And it's different from a past life regression, because that's putting somebody in a trance and they don't remember anything. It's me going back, and you can ask questions. So we went back and asked, what happened? Why in this lifetime is, all of her husbands dying? What's going on? And we found out that every one of the people that she married in this lifetime, she had been married to in different lifetimes, but she never appreciated any of them. And she connected that immediately and said, you know what? You're absolutely right. My 4 husbands that I was married to and passed away in this, I still never appreciated them. And that's why it was continually happening. But this 5th guy that she met, she believed she had learned her lesson, and she was getting much older, and she really appreciated him for who he was and the things he did for her. And lo and behold, she did marry him, and he did not die. To my knowledge yet. They've been together for quite a while. I do house clearings and things like that if you're local for me. And I educate people is the other thing that I do. So my books are available on my website on the front page. A Night on the Other Side is everything that I used to teach in psychic development and mediumship classes. So it will help you to understand how to develop your psychic ability and your mediumship ability. Most people pray. When you pray, you're asking the universe. When you meditate, you're getting your answers. Most people do not meditate properly. However, most people don't teach it properly. When you're opening yourself up to the universe, you're opening yourself up for both good and bad, and you need to protect yourself before you meditate so that you're being protected and no evil can get in touch with you and no evil can attach to you or come near you when you're open like that. Okay. I also have the Relationship Mastery Program, which is a program I started about 4 or 5 years ago. And it teaches people how energy works and how to change their energetic vibration. Most of the people that I targeted for that were people that were having difficulties in their marriages, maybe getting separated or divorced, because those are the people that are most willing to learn and change, because they're going to lose everything. Okay? When you're faced with that dilemma, or I had some people that have taken it that were literally verging on suicide and found me. And it's a 7-week program. And the reason for that is it takes 6 weeks to retrain your brain. You can retrain your brain to do anything in 6 weeks. So I unteach you what you learned and reteach you how things really work, help you get in touch with your soul, and raise your energetic vibration. And when that happens, the law of attraction kicks in as well, because we're magnets. We're always either attracting or repelling at any given time. So when you can be the magnet that's attracting what you want in your life, that's the law of attraction. But most people can't maintain it because they can't balance their energy. So again, I teach people how to balance that energy. Once you balanced your energy, the highs aren't so high, the lows aren't so low. But you're not triggered by things anymore either. Okay, somebody walks in and says, "What the hell are you doing home so early?" Oh, I got out of work early, honey. It doesn't trigger you anymore because you realize it's got nothing to do with you. Those types of things. And it only takes one person. I only work with one person if it was a relationship, because it only takes one person to make or break anything in life. And people change, again, because they have to or they want to. But when you change, everything around you changes. It has no choice because they're not on the same vibration any longer. So they either have to rise up to your vibration or they're going to be repelled away from you. So when you do things differently, everything changes. The people that are around you will do things differently because they have to. If they want to still stay within your vibration or your circle, the things that they do will change. That's how that works. And then the latest book, All's Fair in Love and Karma, came out of doing that program. From putting hundreds and hundreds of people through that program, that's how I learned that we're all here for those same lessons. And those are the lessons that are either negatively or positively impacting your life, whether or not you've learned them or you haven't learned them. And it also speaks about the 3 different types of relationships that we all have, because there's only 3. And we all have thousands of soulmates out there. We all have thousands of karmic relationships out there. But very, very few people have a twin flame relationship. It's extremely rare. There's like 144,000 couples of them on the earth at any given time. It's not the little romantic thing like The Notebook. They're here for a higher purpose. They're here to learn those values and hopefully change the world and make it a better place. But it speaks to why someone is in your life. Are they here just to teach you, just to collect karma so that you can teach them? If it's a karmic relationship, it can last a long time if you're stubborn and you're not learning your lesson. But as soon as one or both learn the lesson, it ends immediately. It's like waking up in one day and saying, "Why am I even here with you?" Because you've learned the lesson. If you both learned the lesson, you'll split, but amicably. If one or the other has not learned the lesson, the relationship ends, but it's not amicable. That's the difference. Okay. And then the soulmates, we have thousands of soulmates, and they don't have to be romantic relationship. A soulmate could be your dog, that reincarnated from a past life. They're here to teach you something, but they're also here to give you comfort and love at the same time. Okay. And same thing, soulmate relationship can last a long time. They don't necessarily have to, but anybody can be your soulmate. It can be your child, it can be your next door neighbor, your friend. Those are the 3 types of relationships. So that's what I do is I teach. I do a lot of teaching. I do general readings as well for people. If anybody's interested in a general reading, the website is just my name, juneedward.com. And I do work outside of the United States as well. I just did a woman in Saudi Arabia. She was a prior student for me, just coming back for a reading after a few years. But I can help people with their business decisions. I can help people on the path that they're supposed to be on in life. If they're having trouble deciding what it is I'm supposed to be doing. And help people get in touch with their soul so they can start learning how to get those answers themselves. Because all the answers for ourselves are always contained within ourselves if we learn how to listen.
Great. All right. Do you have a call to action for our listeners today?
I do. It doesn't cost anything to be kind. It doesn't cost anything. So the next social interaction that you have with somebody that you don't know, just tell them what a great smile they have or what pretty eyes they have, or how just seeing them today just lit up their day and made them feel better, something. It only takes a second to make somebody feel really good about themselves and give them a little bit of joy. And we don't do that enough, and people don't hear it enough. Or give somebody a hug. You know, people need that physical connection. And especially older people, you know, most older people grew up in generations that they don't hug, they don't show affection, but they need that. You know, my own parents were in their 90s when they died, and they had never told me they loved me or given me a hug until I was in my 30s, so they were in their 60s. And, you know, separately, I told them each that I loved them and gave them a hug, and they both cried. And then every time I saw them after, I made sure to give them a hug and tell them how much I love them. And it was something that was sorely needed. Yeah. So spread the joy. Spread the joy. Spread the love.
That's powerful. Yeah, I like that. And one more time, what was your website and the best way to contact you?
My website is juneedward.com, and you can contact me right through the website or my email at june@juneedward.com. I'm also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Truth Social, X. I'm on all of them. So you can contact me through there, and you can follow me as well. Mm-hmm.
Very interesting individual, June. And I want to just say thank you for sharing all this with us today and being part of us with the Dead America podcast.
Thank you for having me on. This was a treat, a real treat.
Thank you for joining us today. If you found this podcast enlightening, entertaining, educational in any way, please share, like, subscribe, and join us right back here next week for another great episode of Dead America Podcast. I'm Ed Waters, your host. Enjoy your afternoon, wherever you may be.